You sent a text 2 hours ago. They haven't replied. And now you've replayed that message in your head so many times you've started wondering if it sounded weird, if you used the wrong emoji, if you should never have sent it at all. Here's the strange part. A psychologist studied this exact pattern in over 1,300 people and found that nearly 3 out of 4 people in their 20s and 30s go through it regularly. Not the big stuff, the small, forgettable stuff. So if you've ever wondered why your brain treats a typo like a tragedy, stay with me. The answer isn't really about the text message at all. The scale of the problem, the numbers here are larger than most people expect. Psychologist Susan Nolen-Hoeksema, who spent over 2 decades at Yale studying this exact pattern, surveyed 1,300 people across different ages and backgrounds. She found that close to 73% of people in their 20s and 30s, and just over half of people in their 40s and 50s, regularly experienced this kind of repetitive, looping thought pattern known in psychology as rumination. What's notable is that this wasn't a study of people in crisis. These were ordinary people asked about ordinary days, which tells us something important. Overthinking the small stuff isn't rare or unusual. It's closer to a default setting for a huge portion of the population. So the real question isn't, why do I do this? It's, why does almost everyone do this? Why your brain treats small things like big things. Your brain's threat detection system, centered in a region called the amygdala, doesn't have separate settings for minor inconvenience and serious danger. It has one setting. Pay attention to this. When you send a message and don't get a fast reply or say something slightly awkward in a meeting, the amygdala doesn't calmly evaluate but her research across dozens of studies found the opposite result. People who ruminate don't generate better solutions. They don't gain clearer insight. They make more pessimistic predictions about the future. Predictions that, when checked later, usually turn out to be wrong. The thinking feels productive. The data says it isn't. This is the trap. Overthinking disguises itself as problem solving closely enough that your brain keeps mistaking one for the other. Why small things get the loop started. If overthinking were only triggered by genuinely big problems, it would make a strange kind of sense. But research has found that major life stress, like job loss, the end of a relationship, or financial pressure actually predicts more rumination, including about things completely unrelated to the original stressor. In other words, stress doesn't stay contained to its source. Once your alarm system is elevated from one real pressure, it becomes more sensitive to everything, including a slightly off text message, a typo in an email, or a comment a coworker made that probably meant nothing. This is part of why overthinking the trivial stuff often spikes during periods that have nothing to do with the trivial stuff at all. The text message isn't really the problem, it's just the nearest thing your already activated alarm system has to grab onto. What this means for you. None of this means you're weak, overly sensitive, or doing something wrong. The research points to something more useful. Overthinking. Small things is less about the size of the thing and more about how primed your nervous system already is and how much you currently believe that more thinking equals more control. 2 small reframes follow directly from this research. First, when you notice yourself looping on something minor, it's worth asking whether something else like unrelated stress, poor sleep, or a hard week has already turned your alarm system up. Often, the trigger is small, specifically, because the system was already sensitive. Second, it helps to notice the metacognitive belief in real time. Am I actually problem solving right now, or does this just feel like problem solving? That single question asked honestly is often enough to loosen the loop's grip. Not because it solves anything, but because it interrupts the assumption that kept the loop running in the first place. So the next time you catch yourself replaying a forgettable moment for the 10th time, remember this. You're not uniquely bad at letting things go. You're running a very old alarm system in a moment that probably has less to do with the thing you're thinking about and more to do with how loud that system already was before the thought even showed up. If this helped make sense of your own mind a little more, subscribe to Still Minds. Next time, we're looking at the hidden psychology of anxiety. What's actually happening in your body when worry takes over completely. See you in the next one.